Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pause for a second, take a breath, because I don't think you fully realize what's happening right now. See, for most of your life, you've been underestimated, overlooked, misunderstood, not because you weren't valuable, but because your value wasn't obvious yet. And let me tell you something, God doesn't reveal gold while it's still being formed in fire. You've been in that fire. Now it's time, because something powerful is happening. God is finally showing the world who you really are, not the version of you that others created with their assumptions, not the one who had to stay quiet so everyone else could feel comfortable, but the one who's been becoming. Just because you've been hidden doesn't mean you've been forgotten. That statement might seem simple, but it carries a depth that speaks to the heart of anyone who's ever felt unseen, overlooked, or left behind. In life, we tend to associate visibility with value. We assume that if people notice us, validate us, or include us, we must be on the right path. But some of the most powerful transformations don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in silence, in solitude, in seasons of being hidden. The truth is, God doesn't waste anything. If you've been in a season where it feels like your gifts are being ignored, your voice isn't heard, or your efforts seem to go unnoticed, it doesn't mean you're being punished. It means you're being preserved. When something is of great value, it's protected. Think about how a seed operates. Before it ever grows into a tree, it's buried. It's hidden underground where nobody sees it. For a time, it even looks like nothing is happening. But that seed is doing its most critical work in the dark, developing roots, establishing its foundation, learning to survive. You are that seed, and maybe your season of being hidden was your season of taking root. Maybe it was in that season that you were learning discipline, patience, humility, and resilience. Maybe it was in that hidden place where you learned to rely on your faith rather than applause. There's a sacredness to being hidden. It's in the quiet that we discover our identity apart from performance. It's in the waiting that our character is forged, and it's in the silence that God often speaks the loudest. So often we want to rush to the stage, to the platform, to the recognition. We believe that visibility equals purpose, but some of the most impactful people didn't become who they are because of attention. They became who they are before anyone was looking, because they were willing to be faithful in the hidden place. They showed up when no one was clapping. They stayed consistent when no one was watching. They kept planting when there was no immediate harvest. And when God knew the foundation was strong enough, He revealed them. He brought them into the light. What if your hidden season wasn't a setback, but a setup? What if it was God's way of protecting your potential from premature exposure? You don't put a masterpiece on display while the paint is still wet. You don't serve a dish that isn't finished cooking, and you don't release a person into purpose until they're prepared. God hides what He values because exposure too soon can destroy what isn't ready. Think about this. Even Jesus, for the first 30 years of His life, was largely hidden. The Son of God spent 3 decades in obscurity before stepping into 3 years of public ministry. Why? Because the preparation was more important than the presentation. He was becoming in the silence, learning, growing, aligning with purpose. If Jesus Himself wasn't rushed into visibility, why would we be? The danger of not understanding the purpose of hidden seasons is that we can grow bitter, anxious, or even self-destructive. We start comparing our journey to others who seem to be ahead. But everyone's timeline is different, and no amount of rushing can give you the roots you didn't take time to grow. When your time comes and God reveals you, it will be right. It will be sustainable, purposeful, and powerful, not because it was perfect, but because it was prepared. It's also important to remember that being hidden isn't about inactivity, it's about intentionality. You're not sitting in the shadows because you're passive or incapable. You're there because that's where God is shaping you. The hidden place is where the internal meets the eternal. It's where you stop performing for people and start listening to your purpose. It's where your motives are purified. It's where your strength is born. It's where your identity is anchored. So if you're in that season right now, where it feels like no one sees you, where doors aren't opening, where the recognition isn't coming, take heart. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible to the one who matters most. God sees you. He sees your sacrifice, your faithfulness, your pain, your tears. He sees what you're building in secret, and when the time is right, he will reveal you, not to impress the world, but to impact it. The beautiful irony is that the very people who once overlooked you will soon wonder where you came from. But you didn't come out of nowhere. You came out of the hidden place, and you'll be grounded, steady, and secure, because your worth was never built on the crowd's validation. It was built in quiet rooms where you and God did the work together. That kind of person can't be shaken by praise or ruined by criticism, because their value isn't situational, it's spiritual. So don't despise your hidden season. Embrace it, trust it, let it do its work in you. Let it strengthen your roots so that when you grow, you're not just tall, you're deep, because when God reveals you, it won't just be your talents on display. It will be your transformation, and that, more than anything, will speak to the people around you. That will inspire them. That will remind them that sometimes the most powerful things are born in the places no one sees. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared, and the world is about to see why the wait was worth it. Being chosen doesn't always feel like a blessing at first. In fact, being chosen can feel a lot like being abandoned. Like you've been set apart, but not in the way you wanted. Like your life isn't moving forward at the pace you hoped. And the hardest part, it's that nobody tells you this beforehand. No one prepares you for the loneliness that comes with purpose. People love to talk about calling, anointing, destiny, but they don't often talk about the cost. They don't tell you that being chosen will, at first, isolate you more than it will elevate you. When you're chosen, you feel things differently. You see things others don't. You carry a weight that most people around you can't even understand, and because of that, you're often set apart not by your own choice, but by divine design. It's not always glamorous. Sometimes it means you don't fit in. You're in a room full of people, but still feel alone. You try to explain your vision, but others look at you like you're speaking a different language, and that's because you are. You're speaking the language of the future of something that hasn't manifested yet, while others are still stuck in the language of the now. It can be deeply frustrating. It can feel discouraging. But it's also a sign that you're not average, a sign that you're carrying something sacred, and sacred things can't be handled by just anyone. That's why your circle got smaller. That's why your path started to narrow. That's why certain doors didn't open for you, even though you were qualified. You thought it was rejection, but it was actually redirection. God was pulling you out of what was common so he could prepare you for what was uncommon. He was separating you, not because you weren't worthy of love or inclusion, but because your calling required a deeper focus, a deeper strength, a deeper trust. Most people aren't prepared for that kind of path. They crave the affirmation that comes from being surrounded, supported, and seen. And there's nothing wrong with that, we're all human. But when you're chosen, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to learn how to walk without applause. You have to learn how to build without being noticed. You have to develop the ability to keep showing up even when no one is watching, because your validation doesn't come from the crowd. It comes from your calling. The isolation isn't meant to punish you. It's meant to prepare you. It's where God fine-tunes your instincts. It's where he purifies your motives. It's where he gets your heart aligned with his. Because once the spotlight comes once, the influence and opportunity and attention arrive, it's too late to develop your foundation. If you don't build it in private, you won't sustain it in public. So he hides you. He puts you in places where you feel unseen, unheard, and sometimes even unloved, not to break you, but to make you unbreakable. That process is tough. It can make you question everything. You wonder, why me? Why now? Why does it feel like I'm the only one going through this? And the answer is often this: because what you're being prepared for is different. You're not just being built for success, you're being built for impact. And impact requires depth, it requires strength, it requires you to be able to lead, even when you're bleeding. It requires you to be able to serve others, even when you feel like no one is serving you. That kind of strength isn't born in comfort, it's born in the wilderness. Even biblically, this is consistent. Moses had to be isolated in the desert before he could lead a nation. David had to be left alone with sheep before he could defeat Goliath. Joseph had to be betrayed and imprisoned before he could rise to power in Egypt. And Jesus, the most powerful example, had to spend time alone in the wilderness, fasting, praying, and facing temptation, before stepping into his public mission. If God allowed even his son to go through isolation before elevation, why would we be any different? So if you feel lonely, misunderstood, or out of place, let me affirm you, it's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something's right. You've been marked for something more. You've been entrusted with something weighty, and right now it's being protected. You're in the workshop season, the refining process. You're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're in training. You're learning how to walk with integrity, how to speak with wisdom, how to serve with humility, and how to live with courage. You're learning how to trust God when nothing makes sense, and that trust is going to become the anchor that holds you when the pressure increases later. Because yes, the spotlight is coming, the recognition will come, the doors will open, but by the time they do, you'll be a completely different person, not just gifted, but grounded, not just powerful, but prepared. Here's the truth most people won't say: you can be chosen and still feel completely alone. You can be walking in purpose and still feel the sting of isolation. But the feelings don't define the truth. Just because it feels hard doesn't mean it's not holy. Just because you're walking alone doesn't mean you're walking the wrong way. Sometimes the narrow road is the right one. Sometimes the silence is the space where your soul is being healed. And sometimes the delay is divine. When God chooses you, he also develops you. That development process can be brutal, not because he's cruel, but because he's careful. He cares too much about you to let you rise before you're ready. So instead of pushing you prematurely into purpose, he holds you back. He whispers, "Not yet." Not as a rejection, but as a promise that when the time is right, you won't have to force anything. You won't have to beg for opportunities or manipulate your way into success. You'll simply be ready, and the world will finally see what God always knew: that you were set apart, not cast aside, that you were being equipped, not erased. That your loneliness wasn't punishment, it was preparation for leadership, for legacy, for impact. Being chosen does feel lonely before it feels powerful, but the power is coming, and when it does, you'll be glad you didn't quit in the quiet place. Because everything you need to carry what's next is being built in what you're facing now. You weren't delayed, you were being developed. One of the hardest things to accept in life is when our timelines don't match our expectations. We often assume that if something hasn't happened yet, if the opportunity hasn't come, the relationship hasn't shown up, the dream hasn't manifested, then it must mean we're behind, that we missed our shot. That life passed us by, but in God's kingdom, delay doesn't mean denial. Delay often means development, because timing without preparation leads to destruction, and God loves you too much to let you walk into something prematurely. We live in a world obsessed with speed, fast results, instant gratification, immediate success, but anything truly valuable takes time. A tree with deep roots doesn't grow overnight. A diamond isn't formed in seconds. It takes pressure, darkness, and time. And your life, your calling, your purpose is no different. You were never meant to rise quickly. You were meant to rise strong, and strength takes development. Development is what happens behind the scenes. It's the repetition no one claps for. It's the training no one sees. It's the spiritual conditioning that shapes your integrity, your character, and your capacity. And often, the season of development feels frustrating. You're doing the right things but seeing no results. You're planting seeds but there's no sign of harvest. You're praying, trusting, obeying, but the doors still aren't opening. And that's when the voice of doubt creeps in. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I missed God. Maybe it's never going to happen. But what if the silence isn't a sign of absence, but of preparation? God's delays are intentional. They are strategic, not because he's trying to punish you, but because he's setting you up for longevity. He's building the version of you that can sustain the blessing, not just receive it. Think about it. It's easy to want influence, but do you have the wisdom to carry it? It's easy to want a relationship, but do you have the emotional maturity to nurture it? It's easy to want elevation, but can your character handle the weight of leadership without crumbling? These are the kinds of questions God answers in your development season, not with words, but with process. He takes you through situations that reveal who you really are, not to shame you, but to grow you. He exposes what needs to be healed. He uncovers what needs to be strengthened. He shows you the gaps, not to disqualify you, but to equip you. Because when the right moment comes, he doesn't want you to just show up. He wants you to shine. The problem is, development feels like delay because there's often no external evidence of progress. You're growing internally, but it's invisible to others, and sometimes even to yourself. But internal growth is the most important kind. Anyone can impress for a moment, but only those who are developed can endure for a lifetime, and the ones who are truly great in the long run are the ones who embrace the process, even when it didn't feel good. It's easy to look at others and think they're ahead of you, to compare your season of development to their season of reward, but you don't know what their process looked like. You don't know what battles they had to fight, what sacrifices they made, or what private pain they endured. And even if they did rise quickly, that doesn't mean they're built to last. Fast success without deep roots can be dangerous. It can inflate ego. It can lead to burnout. It can cause someone to implode under pressure. God doesn't want that for you. He wants your foundation to be so solid that no success can corrupt you, no failure can shake you, and no platform can own you. That's why he's allowing you to wait. Not because you're disqualified, but because he's qualifying you through the process. Every closed door, every no, every delay has a purpose. It's building something in you that success alone never could. And when your time does come, when the opportunity arrives, the door opens, the moment hits, you'll realize you're not nervous. You're not scrambling, you're not insecure, you're ready. Because the person you had to become in the process has already been walking in the identity of the role you're stepping into. That's the power of development. It doesn't just prepare you for what's coming. It transforms you into the version of yourself that's already there. So if it feels like you're in a holding pattern right now, take heart. You're not stuck. You're not forgotten, you're in training, and training isn't glamorous, it's hard, it's repetitive. It can feel discouraging, but it's also necessary. Just like an athlete doesn't show up to the Olympics without years of quiet, relentless training, you don't step into your purpose without spiritual preparation. This is your development season, a season where God is shaping you not for quick wins, but for lasting legacy. Where he's stretching you, humbling you, refining you, not to delay your future, but to protect it. And when the moment comes, you'll look back and realize that every seeming delay was a divine investment. Nothing was wasted, not a single tear, not a single silent day, not a single prayer. All of it was building the strength, wisdom, and faith you need for the next level. So stop seeing this season as wasted time. Start seeing it as sacred time. Because the version of you that's being developed in this quiet place is the one who will walk with confidence, speak with authority, lead with compassion, and live with unshakable purpose. And when people finally see what God was doing all along, they'll call it a breakthrough, but you'll know it was *development*. You were never delayed. You were being shaped, matured, and fortified. You were being built to last. And when the time is right, what once looked like delay will become the very reason you're ready. There comes a moment when you can no longer play small, not because the world suddenly recognized your worth, but because you did. At some point, something within you shifts. You stop waiting for permission. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop editing yourself so you can fit into spaces that were never built to hold your full presence. That's what it means to be chosen. There's a divine weight inside you that refuses to be silenced, a pull on your spirit that keeps nudging you forward, even when fear tries to hold you back. And eventually, you realize that staying small is not humility, it's disobedience. Most people think playing small means being quiet or modest, but real smallness is when you hide your greatness out of fear, when you bury your gifts because you're afraid of criticism, when you suppress your dreams because they intimidate people, when you downplay your calling because it doesn't match what others expect of you. That's not humility, that's bondage. That's the fear of man overpowering the call of God. And that fear can keep you stuck for years, until one day you decide enough is enough. You are not created to blend in. You were created to stand out, to rise, to lead, to shine. But this decision doesn't come without resistance. The moment you choose to walk in your full identity, opposition will show up. Not just from the outside, but from within. That's the paradox of purpose. Stepping into it will often expose your deepest insecurities. You'll have to face the voice in your head that says, "Who do you think you are?" You'll have to confront the fear that people will think you're arrogant. You'll wrestle with the guilt of outgrowing certain relationships, environments, and even versions of yourself. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because elevation always requires separation. You cannot carry old mindsets into a new season. Some people won't like this version of you. They were comfortable with you being unsure, hesitant, dependent on their validation. But now that you're walking in clarity, now that your voice has authority, now that your posture has shifted, they may distance themselves. And that's okay. Don't chase people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Don't shrink just to keep the peace. If your presence disrupts their comfort, it's a sign that your growth is exposing their stagnation. And that's not your burden to carry. The truth is, most people don't fear failure. They fear visibility. They fear being seen, being judged, being talked about. But when you're chosen, visibility isn't optional. You weren't called to hide, you were called to become. And becoming means being seen in your process. It means being willing to look imperfect in front of others while you're still evolving. That kind of courage isn't about ego, it's about obedience. It's about choosing your mission over your comfort, your purpose over your pride, your calling over your critics, because there will be critics. There will be people who mock, dismiss, or question you. Let them talk, let them wonder, let them gossip. You weren't chosen by committee. You were chosen by God, and the same one who called you will cover you. Your job is not to convince anyone of your worth. Your job is to walk like you know who you are, to speak with boldness, to move with authority, to build with faith. You're not here to prove yourself. You're here to be yourself, fully, unapologetically, powerfully. It's not arrogance to walk in alignment. It's not pride to own your power. The enemy will try to twist your confidence into something it's not so that you stay bound in self-doubt. But hear this clearly, you are not too much. You are not unqualified, you are not behind, you are becoming. Every step you take in your full identity is a step closer to the people you're meant to impact. And trust me, there are people waiting for you to rise. People whose lives are tied to your obedience. People who don't need another perfect persona. They need you, real, present, activated. This is the season to stop hiding, to stop apologizing for your dreams, to stop rehearsing reasons why you can't. There's a fire in you for a reason. There's a pull on your spirit for a purpose. You were never meant to live on the sidelines. You were meant to lead, to create, to heal, to break generational cycles, to start movements, to write books, launch businesses, raise up others, shift atmospheres. But none of that happens if you keep playing small. None of that happens if you keep waiting to feel ready. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You decide that your voice matters. You decide that your presence matters. You decide that your story, your struggle, your scars, all of it, carry weight. And when you make that decision, the atmosphere around you changes. Doors open, alignments happen, resources flow, not because everything magically gets easier, but because you finally stopped resisting your own power. And that permission the one you give yourself is the catalyst for everything that comes next. Walking in your full identity will cost you comfort, but it will give you peace. It will cost you relationships, but it will give you alignment. It will cost you approval, but it will give you freedom. And that freedom, it's worth everything, because there is nothing more liberating than living as the person you were created to be. No more masks, no more performance, no more waiting, just truth, just presence, just purpose. So take up space, speak louder, dream bigger, love deeper, lead stronger. You don't need to shrink to fit into a world that wasn't built for your magnitude. You were born to disrupt, to shift, to elevate. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let them adjust. You didn't come to conform. You came to transform. This is not the time to dim your light. It's the time to let it blaze, because the world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It needs the real you, the bold, brave, fully awakened you, the you who finally believes, I was made for this. Not someday, not when they approve, not when you feel ready. Now. You are chosen. Not just to be seen, but to be known. Not just to be accepted, but to stand out. Not just to survive, but to lead. And the moment you stop playing small is the moment you start walking in the divine authority that's been yours all along. There is a powerful shift that happens in your life when you stop begging for seats at tables you were never meant to sit at, and instead begin building the one you were destined to lead. For so long, many of us have been conditioned to believe that success is about access, being included, being accepted, being invited. We wait for approval, we wait for validation, we wait for someone to recognize us, choose us, or promote us. And while there's nothing wrong with being celebrated by others, it becomes a trap when your purpose is held hostage by someone else's permission. That's when you forget the truth. You were never called to fit in, you were called to create. There are some tables that look appealing, but they're not aligned with your assignment. They feel important. They seem prestigious. They give you the illusion of being seen. But deep down, those environments shrink you. They limit you. They require you to dilute your voice, play by unspoken rules, or perform in ways that betray your authenticity. And yet, you stay out of fear of starting over, fear of being alone, fear of what people will say if you walk away. But the moment you realize that peace is more powerful than proximity, everything changes. You stop forcing yourself into rooms where your value is overlooked and start walking boldly into the spaces where your vision is free to breathe. Not every rejection is a loss. Sometimes it's divine redirection. God didn't let you get that opportunity, not because you weren't worthy, but because it would have boxed in your brilliance. He didn't let you stay in that circle, not because you didn't belong, but because your spirit was outgrowing it. And yes, it's painful when you're excluded. It hurts when they don't see you. It stings when your name is left out of the conversation. But what if their no is God's protection? What if the door they closed was keeping you from settling? What if the empty table you're afraid to build is the very place others are praying for someone like you to create? Building your own table doesn't mean doing life alone. It means you stop chasing acceptance and start cultivating alignment. It means you prioritize authenticity over approval. It means you create space where your gifts, values, and voice are not just tolerated, but celebrated. You stop asking, will they let me? And start declaring, I was made for this. That's a spiritual shift. That's a maturity shift. That's what it looks like when you move from survival to legacy. But let's be honest, building your own table isn't easy. It takes courage to go first. It takes endurance to keep showing up when it feels like no one sees you. It takes faith to start with nothing but vision. There will be days you feel overlooked. There will be moments you question if it's even worth it. And on those days, you'll be tempted to settle, to go back to the familiar tables, the comfortable places, the spaces that seem safe but keep you small. Resist the urge. The easy path rarely leads to the most meaningful impact. Instead, trust that what you're building is bigger than you. Your table isn't just about your comfort, it's about your calling. It's for the people who feel like misfits. The ones who have been left out, the ones who have vision but nowhere to release it, the ones who are desperate for spaces that honor who they truly are. When you build your table, you create a sanctuary for others. A place where truth is welcomed, where purpose is activated, where legacy is written. And here's the beauty, the right people will find you. You don't need to market your soul. You don't have to perform to be seen. When you walk in alignment, you attract what's meant for you. Resources show up, collaborations align, support appears, not because you forced it, but because you became a magnet by being authentic. The more you walk in your true assignment, the more your life becomes a signal to others who are meant to walk with you. Don't get discouraged if your table starts small. Every movement begins with a moment of obedience. Every platform starts with a step of faith. You might be building with borrowed tools and limited support right now, but trust this, what you're constructing in this quiet place will one day echo loudly. The foundation you're laying now will outlast the platforms that were built on pretense. You're not just building for today, you're building for future generations, for the next wave of dreamers, leaders, healers, and visionaries who will find shelter in what you had the courage to create. This season calls for boldness, for vision, for action, not for begging, not for trying to prove your worth. You don't need to force open doors that were never yours. You don't need to compromise to gain proximity. You don't need to be chosen by people to walk in what God has already anointed. What you carry is enough. Who you are is enough. And when you stop chasing the illusion of inclusion, you start living from a place of authority. You stop waiting and start building. Remember, no one has to understand your calling for it to be real. No one has to agree with your direction for it to be right. God will often speak things to you in private that the world won't recognize until much later. That's okay. Stay faithful to the vision. Stay obedient to the assignment. Keep showing up with excellence even when the crowd is small. Keep building even when the applause is absent. Because at the right time, what you've been creating in the dark will be brought into the light, and it will speak louder than any words you could say. So take the risk, start the thing, write the book. Launch the business, create the room, build the table, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Because your calling doesn't need validation. It needs obedience. And when you walk in that, nothing and no one can stop the impact you're meant to make. You don't need to be invited. You were born to initiate. You don't need to sit at their table. You were born to build your own. There is a sacred strength in enduring silence, in continuing to show up when nobody notices, in choosing to believe when there's no applause, no confirmation, no clear sign that what you're doing is working. This is the season where most people give up, not because they're not gifted, not because they're not called, but because they misread the silence. They think silence means absence, that if it's quiet, God must not be moving, that if no one's validating them, maybe they're doing something wrong. But the truth is, some of your most defining growth happens in obscurity. Not on stages, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where faith is refined and character is forged. We've been conditioned to crave visibility, to associate value with how much attention we get. And so, when we step into our purpose and the world doesn't immediately respond, we start questioning ourselves. We wonder, did I miss it? Am I even making a difference? Does any of this matter? And yet, God often works in silence on purpose. He lets you build in quiet, not to punish you, but to protect you, to shield you from premature exposure, to give you space to grow deep before you go wide. He doesn't need your platform to be loud. He needs your roots to be strong. Just because the world hasn't clapped yet doesn't mean heaven isn't watching. There's something profoundly spiritual about choosing consistency over recognition, about choosing to show up day after day, not because it's glamorous, but because it's right. It's in those private, hidden moments, the ones no one sees, where your integrity is shaped, where your work ethic is refined, where your spirit is stretched. These are the places that test your motives. Are you doing it to be seen, or are you doing it because you're called? If no one ever applauded, would you still keep building? Most people don't understand this season because they're addicted to external validation. They need constant feedback to stay motivated. They rely on metrics, on likes, on praise to keep moving forward. But chosen ones are different. Chosen ones are fueled by something internal conviction, a deep knowing, a sense of divine urgency. That's what sustains you when the silence gets heavy. That's what pushes you to keep speaking, writing, serving, praying, when it feels like no one is listening. Because you're not doing it for attention, you're doing it out of obedience. Obscurity isn't punishment, it's preparation. Think of David, anointed king, but sent back to the field to tend sheep. Think of Joseph, given a dream, but sold into slavery and left in prison. Think of Jesus himself, 30 years of quiet before 3 years of public ministry. What do all of these have in common? Purpose incubated in silence, growth hidden from public view, power cultivated in the unseen. And when the time came, their emergence wasn't random. It was right on time because who they became in the silence was what made them ready for the spotlight. You may feel invisible right now. You may feel like you're doing everything right and getting no return. But don't confuse invisibility with insignificance. Just because you're hidden doesn't mean you're not being used. Just because your impact isn't loud doesn't mean it isn't real. Some of the greatest shifts in people's lives will come through what you faithfully built when no one was watching. Your consistency in the quiet will speak volumes when it's finally revealed, and when that moment comes, you won't have to prove anything. The fruit will speak for itself. In fact, the longer you stay hidden, the more powerful your emergence will be. Because you weren't busy performing, you were becoming. You weren't just posting content. You were being formed into the kind of person who can carry the weight of influence with integrity. It's not just about what you do. It's about who you are when no one's looking. That's the version of you God is shaping in this silence. That's the foundation that can carry legacy. But this is also the season where the enemy whispers the loudest. He tells you you're wasting your time, that you're forgotten, that your prayers are hitting the ceiling, that your work is fruitless. He tempts you to stop, to quit, to settle. And the only way to silence that voice is with truth. You have to remind yourself, my worth is not determined by applause. My assignment is not made valid by numbers. My identity is not proven by visibility. I am chosen, I am called, I am planted on purpose. Seeds don't sprout the moment they're planted. They go down first. Roots grow in darkness before anything breaks through the surface. That's what this season is. You're not stuck, you're not failing, you're rooting, you're developing. You're becoming someone who can not only receive the blessing, but sustain it. Someone who's not moved by trends or flattery or pressure. Someone who's anchored in purpose. And here's the part most people don't talk about. Staying faithful in silence is a spiritual discipline. It's worship. It's trust in action. When you keep building without praise, that's worship. When you keep praying without results, that's trust. When you keep walking without clarity, that's faith. Heaven sees that. God honors that. And He will not allow your labor to be in vain. The promise still stands. The timing is still set. The unveiling will come. But in the meantime, your only job is to stay faithful. Faithful doesn't mean flashy. It means consistent. It means excellent. It means available. It means unshakable. Because one day, people will look at your life and call it sudden. But you'll know better. You'll know it was years of obedience, sacrifice, and silent breakthroughs that no one saw but God. And when the moment comes, you'll be ready not because you waited for applause, but because you became who you were meant to be when no one was clapping. So if you're in the silent season right now, don't rush through it. Don't despise it. Don't wish it away. Embrace it. Lean into it. Let it do its work in you. Because what's growing inside of you is bigger than a moment. It's a movement. And movements are built in the shadows long before they ever make it to the stage. Keep going, keep sowing, keep believing. Heaven sees what you're doing, even if the world doesn't yet. And when God decides it's your time, no silence, no shadow, and no person will be able to hold back the glory of what's about to be revealed in you. There comes a point in your journey where you realize the process was never punishment, it was preparation. All the delays, detours, disappointments, and even the heartbreaks you've endured were never wasted. They were crafting something in you that comfort never could. You see, being chosen doesn't mean you get to bypass the pain. In fact, it often means you go through more, not less. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. And being called means you're forged differently. God doesn't just give chosen ones a platform. He gives them weight. And weight is cultivated in the fire, not the spotlight. When you look back at the wilderness you had to walk through, it's tempting to feel like those years were lost. The people who left you, the doors that closed, the seasons that didn't make sense, they can all leave emotional residue that convinces you something went wrong. But nothing went wrong. It all went right. Because the version of you that exists now is stronger, sharper, more aware, more anchored than the one who began the journey. You didn't just survive it. You transformed in it. And that transformation is what will sustain everything that's coming. We often pray for elevation without understanding what it costs. We want influence, but are we ready for the isolation that often precedes it? We want purpose, but can we handle the pressure it carries? You can't carry what's heavy if you haven't been trained in the dark. That's what the process does. It strengthens the parts of you that no one else sees so that when the weight of destiny falls on your life, it doesn't crush you. It matures your character so that when people start celebrating your gift, your identity isn't hijacked by their praise. One of the most painful things about the process is how lonely it can feel. When you're walking through the valley, it often feels like no one gets it. You look around and it seems like everyone else is thriving while you're barely making it. But the valley is not a sign you're behind. It's the asterisk pathway asterisk to your next. It's where you develop spiritual stamina. It's where your discernment sharpens. It's where you learn to hear God's voice without needing confirmation from others. And it's also where you find out who's truly for you, not for your potential, not for your talent, but for asterisk you. Asterisk chosen ones are often misunderstood. Your process won't look like theirs. Your timing won't match theirs. Your doors may not open when you expect them to. That's because you're not being prepared for a moment. You're being prepared for asterisk longevity. Asterisk God is not in the business of building platforms that crumble in pressure. He's interested in building asterisk people asterisk who can carry legacy, and legacy requires depth. Legacy requires testing. Legacy requires that you walk through seasons where you have to lead yourself when no one is clapping, keep building when no one is noticing, keep believing when there's no evidence yet. That kind of internal strength doesn't come from skipping the process. It comes from asterisk embracing asterisk it. It's easy to feel bitterness toward what didn't happen, to get caught up in the should have been and the almost had it. But growth begins when you start reframing the story. When you look at the closed doors and say, that was protection. When you remember the betrayal and say, that was redirection. When you reflect on the heartbreak and say, that was pruning. Nothing was wasted. Not a single tear, not a single night of questioning, not a single battle you fought alone, all of it is being used. And the more you heal, the more you realize it wasn't happening asterisk to asterisk you. It was happening asterisk for asterisk you. And here's the key, the process changes not just your skills, but your asterisk spirit. Asterisk, it makes you kinder, deeper, more aware of others. It humbles you in the best way. When you've suffered in silence, you carry compassion that can't be manufactured. When you've been broken and rebuilt, you don't judge others' pain. You understand it. That's why the process is sacred, because it doesn't just shape your journey, it reshapes your asterisk heart. Asterisk, and that heart is what will sustain your next level. Sometimes we resist the process because it's not glamorous. No one claps when you're doing inner work. No one throws a parade for healing old wounds. But that internal renovation is what qualifies you to carry the external blessings. If you skip it, you may arrive early, but you'll arrive asterisk unprepared. Asterisk, and what's the point of success if it crushes you once you get there? The process ensures that when the door opens, you have the asterisk stability, asterisk to walk through it with confidence, and the asterisk integrity, asterisk to stay there with grace. We all want the promise, but do we have the patience to walk through the path that leads to it? That's what separates those who are called from those who are asterisk ready. Asterisk because calling is given, but readiness is asterisk forged. Asterisk, it's forged in every setback that didn't make sense. It's forged in every detour that humbled you. It's forged in every season you had to keep going when quitting felt easier. And when God finally reveals you, when the platform comes, when the people come, when the opportunities flow, you'll walk in it with a different energy. Not arrogance, not insecurity, asterisk assurance. Asterisk the quiet kind of confidence that only comes from having been built in the dark. So if you're in the middle of your process right now, if things feel delayed, if you're confused, if you're questioning whether any of it is worth it, hold on. Don't rush what's sacred. Don't try to microwave what God is slow cooking. He's not withholding from you. He's asterisk preparing asterisk you. And that preparation is not small. It's not punishment. It's not failure. It's the evidence that something asterisk greater asterisk is coming, and he's making sure you don't just receive it, but you asterisk carry asterisk it well. The truth is, some blessings don't come until you're ready to become the person who can hold them. And that becoming isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about surrender. It's about trusting the process even when it doesn't make sense, because the process is holy, the process is working. The process is preparing you for a life that's not just impressive on the outside, but anchored on the inside. This is not the end of your story. It's the preparation chapter, and one day you'll look back and thank God not just for what he gave you, but for how he prepared you to carry it. Because you'll see clearly, it was never punishment, it was always purpose. People will see your glory, but they won't know your story. They'll see the outcome, the breakthrough, the platform, but they won't see the process, the tears, the battles behind the scenes. That's one of the most difficult yet beautiful realities about walking in purpose. When God begins to reveal who you really are to the world, it often looks sudden. People will say, "Wow, look at them now," as if it all happened overnight. But you and God know better. You know what it took. You know the nights you cried, the moments you almost gave up, the times you kept showing up when everything in you wanted to quit. People often love the finished product, but rarely understand or even acknowledge what it cost to get there. They admire the strength, but weren't there for the seasons that tried to break you. They respect your wisdom, but they didn't witness the confusion and pain that taught you those lessons. They see you walking in confidence, but they weren't around when you had to rebuild yourself from nothing. That's why it's so important to never let outside perceptions define your worth, because only you and God truly know the full depth of your story. Your story is sacred. It's messy, raw, real, and filled with moments of vulnerability that many people will never get to see. Not because you're hiding it, but because it's too personal, too holy. There are moments in your journey that were between you and God alone, moments where he carried you when no one else even knew you were breaking. Moments where you had to trust him blindly, with no evidence that anything was working. That kind of faith can't be explained, it can only be lived, and that's what makes your story so powerful. Because the more the world starts to see your glory, your success, your platform, your influence, the more it becomes a testimony, not just to your gifts, but to God's faithfulness, to the endurance he built in you, to the strength he gave you when you had none left. The story behind the glory is where the real power is, not because it's glamorous, but because it's honest. It shows that greatness isn't born in perfection, it's born in perseverance. Some people won't understand your urgency, they won't get why you're so focused now, why you've cut off distractions, why you've stopped entertaining drama, why you've distanced yourself from people who don't align with your purpose. They'll think you've changed, and you have, but that change didn't happen randomly. It came through fire, it came through loss, heartbreak, disappointment. It came through lessons that hurt, seasons that tested your identity, and decisions that forced you to grow. You don't move with this kind of purpose without pain sharpening your vision first. And yet, even though your story shaped you, it's your glory that will be seen first. That's the part people react to. They'll see the finished house, but not the years you spent laying each brick. They'll admire the way you speak, lead, or create, but they won't realize how many times you doubted yourself before you found your voice. And you can't expect them to. That's not their fault. That's just how life works. But you must never forget the full journey, because it keeps you grounded. It reminds you of why you started. And it makes sure you don't get so caught up in the results that you lose touch with the relationship, the one between you and the one who brought you through it all. It's tempting, when the spotlight comes, to focus on maintaining appearances. But don't, instead, focus on maintaining authenticity, because your story isn't something to be ashamed of. It's the very thing that gives your success depth. There are people out there who don't need to see your highlight reel, they need to hear about your healing. They don't need more perfection, they need your process. And when you have the courage to speak from that place, to lead from that place, you give others permission to believe they can make it too. That's why your story matters. Even if the world only sees your glory, you carry the full truth of both, and that gives you integrity. It gives you credibility. You didn't just read about resilience, you lived it. You didn't just talk about faith, you had to walk through seasons where it was all you had. You didn't just study leadership, you were forged in moments when no one else was stepping up, and you had to become the one who did. There will always be people who assume your success came easy. That's okay. Let them. You don't need to prove your pain to anyone, but don't let their assumptions make you forget the truth. Don't let their applause become your anchor. Applause is fleeting, purpose is eternal. Keep living from your why. Keep staying connected to the source, because that's what sustained you before anyone knew your name, and that's what will keep you grounded long after the noise fades. There's something sacred about holding the full picture of your journey. It's a quiet kind of strength. You don't need to broadcast every wound to validate your worth. You walk in peace knowing that your survival is proof enough. You carry the weight of your past, not as a burden, but as a badge. Not to boast, but to remind yourself, I made it, and I didn't make it alone. God walked me through the valley. He met me in my weakness, and now that I'm walking in my strength, I will never forget how I got here. So when they see the glory, the version of you that's thriving, leading, building, impacting, let them celebrate it. But let you remember the story. Let you remember the midnight prayers, the lonely decisions, the courage it took to heal. Let you carry the gratitude, the depth, the humility that only comes from having walked through the fire, because that story is what gives your glory meaning. It's what makes your success more than just a moment, it makes it a message. And that message is what the world really needs, not just to see you win, but to believe they can too.